All right, so this is going to be fun tonight. We've got a great guest. I love this show. This is going to be awesome.
Okay, so for you guys that are sitting here, Ken and I are going to talk about
for 7 minutes.
Things, and then we'll pass it on.
Okay. All right, guys, give me a countdown, please.
We want to get rid of the drink.
All right.
All right, we're going live, Instagram.
This is the What's Neat This Week show, that Model Railroad show. We try to keep you updated on everything new, and we got a lot of updates tonight. So, Ruckin, let's just do this. Show number 85, guys.
That's neat, Pete.
This week.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Micromark, the small tool specialists. Visit their website and use product code WNTW at www.micromark.com/WNTW. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show number 85 for August 8th, 2019. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. That's that video that you guys all love to watch. And we've got a special guest that's on that show with us tonight, and I'll go into that in just a second. But I also want to say that I got Sugar Fire Joshua Barton with me.
What up, everybody?
And we've also got James Regier over here on the end, who's got a really cool project to talk about. I've got Peat Wallinger with me. That is the gentleman that did the first 15 minutes of What's Neat at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. We've got over 14,000 views on that in just the first week, and it's a great video, Pete. We really appreciate what you did with that. We've also got Eddie Bauer with us this evening. Eddie is a gentleman that I've known since he was 14 years old. He's always been in model railroading. What a great guy. In fact, you own the Midwest Valley Modelers Layout. That
And my best friend. I love Eddie Bauer.
We do love Eddie. Yeah. So I'm going to start out. I'm going to start out with new news, and that is we did some photo shoots today using the new Athearn Big Boy 4014, and I'll tell you what, it is a project. I haven't actually shot any outdoor run-bys yet this year. This is the first time doing it, if you can believe it, and it's quite a process to set it up. You've got to run the DCC system out there. You've got to run track power for the system out there, and I don't rely on radio through the glass, so I like to have a handheld throttle system when I do this. Then you've got to set up the various dioramas, align everything up to look just about correct, hope the engines run smooth, clean the track, and it kind of escapes me, and a lot of people enjoy seeing this footage as we show what it is that I do for some of these photo shoots, so I think that's just about enough time to cover that. But the one interesting thing is you don't want to forget, and I do this all the time, is to make sure you dust off your models right before the run-by, or you can spend 4 hours setting up, get inside and edit your video and find out it's all unusable. Essentially, you don't want cat hair and otherwise dust on it. So that is, I have paid the price for that.
Or I'd just like to add that he gets everything together and then a storm comes and he has to pull everything out and do it again the next day, which...
It's just normal, but it's a lot of fun. I picked it. I tell you what, we saw some blades on the river. The blades for these turbine fans that generate electricity are getting larger and larger, and we had 18 of them shipped up the Mississippi River this week. The typical barges that you're looking at, the rakes and the boxes, are 200 feet long. So you can figure these blades are just around 200 feet. It's amazing footage that I did want to run. So without further ado, I'll tell you what, guys, I've got Peat Wallinger here, and Pete, you did the most magnificent video in What's Neat, where you actually were in the real railroad painting. Tell us about your experience with your stencil art.
I mean, it's just wild. I'm like super grateful to be able to do my art, for people to recognize my work. You know, a lot of people recognize me from these eyes that I put around St. Louis specifically, but, you know, just around the world. You know, I go to New York, Miami, Chicago, and I put these eyes on different things, you know, and I had this opportunity to paint up a bunch of trains. A scrapyard guy asked me if I wanted to come out to a scrapyard and paint up some locomotives.
That's awesome.
I know, right? How does that come up?
I got these locomotives.
You know? I'm like, heck yeah. So anyway, I painted a bunch of locomotives, used a bunch of the pieces as an art exhibit. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was exciting. It was a very exciting opportunity, you know, something you'd only find in East St. Louis, y'all. So anyway,
That's
I'm
amazing.
excited to be here, man. I love what you all have going on here, and it's crazy. It's 4 or 5 years later after the exhibit, but you know, like trains live on forever. You know, so.
Absolutely.
And that's not
right.
going to be probably your only train exhibit because you've got this dream of having a passenger car full
We're
of
gonna
your
have
work.
it. You know what? You're gonna be the catalyst, my brother. So.
And travel around the country with this work in a car, and or i.e. have exhibits around the country.
I'm down.
Now, this stuff that you do around New York and St. Louis, for example, this isn't you just tagging things.
Oh,
You're
no.
commissioned to do this. You have permission.
You know,
to do
I'm going to
this?
start away because I use spray cans. People always say, "Oh, graffiti."
Right.
Your motivation's to vandalize. I'm going to start off right there. Okay, I'm not even going to say I'm a graffiti artist because some grandma will go, "Oh, graffiti, you're breaking up a wall." You'll go like, "Oh, graffiti, that's cool."
There's a lot of
Sure.
people offended.
So at
by
the end of
that.
the day, it is. It's a big talking point. But
Right,
my
right.
motivation is to beautify, not to vandalize. I've always been, you know, the eyes are a way of awakening things. I use these eyes as almost like a Nike symbol, but instead of a Nike symbol, it's an eye, and it represents, you know, awakening. Like you wake things up. You find a freaking fire hydrant, add 2 eyeballs to it, and in my opinion, it makes that hydrant a little bit better. You know, I'm not sitting there going like tagging my name on something to be like, oh, that's me. You know, the eyes are there to wake things up. So anyway, I love the opportunity to wake up trains. You know, like how crazy is that? So anyway, here we are
We're
today.
going to have you modeling. Show us, pan up camera, and check out the beautiful large-scale USA Trains G-scale auto rack that Pete painted up for us with the show name.
Well,
on
as
it.
you may or may not know,
That's
my name is
incredible.
spelled Peat.
Like
And the
Pete-
funny
Pete Moss.
story is my girlfriend always goes, "That's neat, Pete." So before I even met you, coming on a show like, "What's neat this week?"
Yeah,
Very
Pete.
nice.
that's
Yeah,
right.
there's Care right there.
All right.
Hey, that's neat, Care. Anyway, I thought it would be appropriate to put "What's neat, Pete."
Love
But anyway, Ken gave me that car last week. I tagged it up, and I'm actually going to be doing a live demo on the other side of it that you all will see a time-lapse video of, and it'll be in his collection. So
Right.
thanks for that, auto rack, baby.
We're going to run Pete in the November What's Neat, and he's going to actually show how he does his stencil art,
Well, I've just found out about this, so apparently so.
which would be another great way for you to be able to do your buildings when you're putting graphics on them and or some of your freight cars. It might be a different way to do graffiti art. It certainly
Hey,
allows
Ken,
you.
that's neat.
I know, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
All right, James Regier, tell us what you brought with you this evening.
Well, what I brought today is sort of a work in progress. This is a City Classics model of a 1950s era gas station. I got this initially as a project to do with my daughter.
Nice.
But what I'd like to
Good daughter project. I like to hear you say
Yeah,
daughter.
so-
That's awesome.
So we've been working on it off and on, and I've just kind of decided I really wanted to super detail it. Add like car lifts, add desks inside, chairs for the customers to wait in, tables even, tool chests in the back, and this has all been made a lot easier with this tool right here, which is the Chop It, available from Micromark. But that is literally a tool that I use on just about all of my projects, from creating speaker boxes for locomotives that I'm converting to DCC and upgrading with sound, to doing these parts in the gas station. If you need precision parts that are repeated, and here I have actually what will eventually be a little ceiling light. We'll have to get a photo of that later. You're not going to pick it up on the camera. But if you want to repeat parts and get exact same length over and over again, this tool is something that you will want in your arsenal. Or if you want to make a scale 46-inch tool chest, all you need is a calculator to figure out what 46 inches will be in actual inches in HO scale. And then you take your caliper and you set your stop, and then you chop it, and so it just works so very well for so very many things.
True
And
that.
the razor blades you can take them out and put new razor
You
blades in.
can take them out,
so you
put
don't have to
new
worry
razor
about it.
blades in. You can use Stanley razor blades or whatever you want in there. It's a very flexible tool.
That's
Nice.
amazing. We'd like to thank very much Micromark for
Yeah.
helping us with the show. We've had 40 plus of our viewers actually make purchases from them, so
Wow.
thank you very much. And you guys get a big discount, a relatively large discount. And you can all do that by reporting when you make your order on the phone or on the internet. Type in the WNTW or just tell them what's neat this week. They'll know just what you're talking about. So rock and roll, thank you so much for that. Joshua, man, you've been working on some stuff, and I know you've got some large-scale ride-on stuff you keep talking about. What's going on with that?
Well, I'm going to go out and interview a few people here soon. I just recently purchased a small, it's 7.5-inch gauge but it's a switcher. So I'm going to be going to pick up that from Denver, Colorado in November, and then I'll have some footage on that.
Oh, that's exciting.
And just a little FYI for everybody, I got the boss to put a G-scale locomotive layout in the restaurant.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
Are you going to have it deliver food and that sort of thing?
No, nothing like that. It'll just be in the
Sugar
rafters,
fire.
but
That's
maybe
awesome.
the next store that I
Yeah.
open, then we can do that.
Now, Eddie used to bring some 7-inch gauge stuff over here. Do you remember that? You were kind of getting into that, weren't you?
It was 1-inch scale, 4 3/4 inch.
4
gauge.
3/4. So,
Really?
Okay.
so you're getting the
Smaller.
7. Is that
I'm
right?
getting the
He's
7.5
7,
inch
and you were in the
gauge,
4.
yeah.
The 4 is
1.5
pretty
scale.
large too. You had
Yeah.
some castings of wheel sets and various things. Talk
1-inch
about that
scale.
for a second.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's just one of those ongoing projects.
So is it live steam or is it?
I've got an F3 that's
Okay.
in the development phase still.
Very nice, very
Yeah.
nice. I've looked into a lot of the larger scale stuff, and for 7.5 inch gauge, or I believe they call it 1
Inch and a half scale.
inch and a half scale. There's quite a bit of stuff available, and
There is.
there's specialty products like Tom B. He makes all different kinds of trucks for these, and you can flip them out. And Scott Weatherford here in Missouri, he makes the parts. There's quite a few companies that have this big scale stuff. Like what was the show that played a long time ago where the train went through the
Silver
house?
Spoons.
Silver
On
Spoons.
Silver
Yeah.
Spoons.
Oh, I always wanted that set up on my house.
That's how I found out about it, is because I thought about that show and I saw an episode and I was like, how cool would that be? Started doing research, and it's all been downhill or uphill from there, looking on how you
Right on.
how you look at it.
I mean, I grew up with
Sounds
this guy. I've
awesome.
known Eddie Bauer since I was 2 years old.
Wow.
And I remember one
kinda
day he
picked
took
to
me out to
prove
this
it.
place in Eureka that had all these
Yeah.
trains from Silver Spoons that size that we could
Yeah.
ride on.
Right.
Yeah, St.
And
Louis
like
live
he would go out there
steamers.
every weekend and got to know all these guys, fixing the little tiny. It was the neatest thing,
Yeah,
man.
our very own Daniel Coombs is a member there, so he does
Right,
all
yeah.
the runs. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
And he
Yeah.
was always train fanatic.
Daniel's here tonight.
Yeah, he's
And
around
next
here somewhere.
next week when we do it, we're going to do an NCE segment on the show next week. We're going to take the power cab, the main system. That's called the Pro Cab, I guess.
Yeah.
The main system that's on my layout that runs this layout around the room down here, and we're going to set it up on the table and show you how easy it is to hook that system up, and then hook up the power cab system next to it. And they're all interchangeable. All the parts are upgradable, and the radio systems are already in my ceiling, so we'll probably do it that way. So there's something else I wanted to talk about. Caboose out in Lakewood, Colorado is happy to announce that they have added estate collections section to their store. They have acquired TCK Treasures, and they're working with their team at home to provide the next generation with the trains as they're passed on. And there's going to be a lot of rare things and things that you thought have been out of production forever, so look forward to checking this out. If you have an estate that you're interested in selling to Caboose, you can contact them at info@mycaboose.com, and be sure to check out their eBay listings. They're setting up a brand new eBay account for that, which is going to be, you can link all of it at mycaboose.com. So it's a new endeavor that they're trying in Lakewood. We wish all of them the very best, and I know there's a very large market for that as the generational trains are passed down from one to another.
Well, think
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. All these people that don't have any relatives to pass anything down upon, I mean, half of it usually gets thrown away, and those are such iconic items,
True that.
It's,
Right.
it's nice that they'll be able to pass those on to other people.
That's
And items that you've always wanted but are no longer available
Yeah.
too. Like there's definitely a lot of market in there.
It's a
Exactly.
delicate subject when you talk about something like that, but they treat it with great respect, and
Indeed.
we look forward to their endeavor.
Yeah.
So rock and roll, Pete. You've got some really cool models on the table, and these are part of the layout that was on display.
I mean, you
on
guys know what you're
Sutton.
doing here. Mine was an art show. I did a little tiny table that I tried to replicate some of the, scrapped trains. So, but anyway, yeah, here's a few smatterings of the eyes on trains.
And the faces are on all of
Yeah.
these models,
Yeah.
and it's really neat how you created the scrap pile out of foam.
Oh, you like that?
I
Yeah.
do. Did you?
You know,
that's-
we're all artists at the end of the day. It's like A to Z. What do you got to do? I had to build a scrapyard for my model train layout. I don't really do a lot of this stuff. My background is painting real trains or painting buildings or whatever. And when the show came about, obviously I hit up Eddie Bauer and a bunch. I went to a bunch of the model train shows. I had never been to any of those, and it was so cool to see that. But one thing I didn't see is a lot of the graffiti stuff. Eddie actually does weathering solutions. He does decals for that. You also
That's
check
right.
out weathering
Right, yeah.
solutions. And it was crazy serendipity that my buddy, he has a decal printer. We did some decals for some of these trains, and But it was cool, yeah. So I did a whole model layout for the Eyes on Train show, and because that's a very big part of train history. But the one thing I could not find that nobody had was little taggers, like little graffiti guys. So I actually
Fraser makes
3D
those.
modeled
Yeah.
And Prizer
some
probably
little
makes them,
tiny
yeah.
ones. A buddy of mine had one of those 3D printers, so I know a little 3D work. I sent him the 3D model, and he made me little taggers.
Oh, you've got some
Nice.
then.
Oh, I have a
nice.
ton of those. They're actually in
Correct.
that bag I gave you.
I've seen through the Walters catalog that Fraser makes them, and they're available here in the States, and they're actually taggers.
Did
I
not
think
know
that's what
that.
they call
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Well, Google didn't
Some
give
of
that
them come
me.
with walls.
Give me that. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
We got some value trains cars on the table. We've got the black one and the gold car, and we've talked about that a lot. And we have not sold. I don't think we've had the 100th gold car sell yet.
Not yet.
But we're getting
Like it.
close. But you can check those out at valuetrainsusa.com. We really appreciate y'all purchasing those cars, and we love it when you show the cars after you've weathered them on our Facebook page. I'm going to have one show where we're going to show probably 15 or 20 of those because we've got a lot of different photographs now, including the one that we've got here on the table. So I love that one from Patrick.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, Patrick. I love him.
beautiful.
He's awesome. Also, one last thing I want to talk about with regards to what's on the table on these tank cars. I pulled these out because these are Athearn tank cars. And the fact is, I've got 3 different types on the table. And I was looking at James Wright's website, and he did a review of one of the Athearn cars. And it just brought out the fact that they're so finite. The detail on them is so unbelievably finite. I just can't believe they're plastic. And I just wanted
Oh,
to
yeah.
emphasize that because we've never talked about tank cars on the show. Athearn didn't ask me to talk about them, but I love them. So,
Oh, I know. Like I ordered one of the. I ordered. I think it was a cotton belt tank car from Athearn for the Magic House, and I looked at the detailing on it. I loved it so much. I ordered like 3 or 4 more of them for my own collection at home. They're just incredible.
we're making great time tonight. I like it. Now, tonight, Eddie, you were out there and you were barbecuing some magnificent food for us. I saw corn on the grill.
Did you see those kebabs?
Those kebabs were delicious. They
Who
were
made
shrimp.
those? That's
It
you.
was a real fun
I made the
pre-show.
kebabs.
Nice, very
And then-
nice job.
Yeah.
We
As
grilled at Ken's house. I said we're gonna come out here. I actually hit up Eddie. I was like, I saw that grill that Ken made, and I was like, we got a GART barbecue out there. So we had a nice little barbecue before the show. That was fun. Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Another interesting thing out there was that we still had the layout running that I shot video on during the day, shooting the big boy and everything. So the guys had their locomotives out there with all the lights flashing, all the special effects. It was really neat to see a layout actually outside in HO scale tonight, all lit up. It was just something different, but it's more of the eye candy, and that's why you guys watch the podcast. So rock and roll with that. Joshua, pick it up and tell me about this G scale layout. What are your plans on this?
Well, I took some G-scale trains of different various sizes and stuff to work today and kind of showed them the difference between what we would need for a 2-inch radius or a 2-foot radius curve or a 12-inch radius curve. And he definitely went with the 2-foot radius curve. He wants to have smaller trains, but something really flashy that people will be able to see.
Interesting.
And with it being 10, 12 foot in the air and over people's head, what kind of restrictions we would have to have as far as plexiglass or some kind of chain system or something to keep the trains, heaven forbid, if they hop off the track, they don't hit some customer on the head.
There are manufacturers
Someone's
out
chopping
there.
on a rib and they get a train in the head.
Right,
That would be
right.
fun.
You can purchase pre-built metal welded together shelf type hanging stuff. I've seen that available in the magazines advertised. I don't know what companies are out there, but we need to check that
Well,
out.
and
Definitely.
I dove into that very briefly today, but my issue is from where I would like the trains to run to the ceiling is another 25 foot because we're a historic building. We originally were a shopping center.
Right.
Uh,
The old
so-
Sticksbury and Fuller store, in
Are
fact.
you talking about
yeah.
the downtown location?
Right,
That's
right,
what's
yeah,
going- That's
right,
neat.
right downtown,
That'd be
4th
neat.
and Washington, or 6th and Washington.
All right. So tonight's question, we always like to do this and form a little discussion. And Eddie, you might be able to chime in on this, but James Regier and Joshua, I want to talk about, you see ground throws on the layout. I like those black plastic ground throws. I think they're from a company called Caboose Industries that makes the ground throws, and other people like to put their switch machines underneath their layout and hide them. Now, I'd like to see the responses on readers' comments on this. But James, guys, what do you think about that? Do you like the ground throws so you can walk around and switch a train right where you're standing, or do you want to put the switch machines and the buttons there? What's your ideas for that?
Yeah, it all depends on what operations you want to do and what your reach on your layout is. I know the layout that my dad and I built at home, there were areas where you just couldn't reach. So So you had to have the under layout turtle machines, I think, or the tortoise machines were what we used. But at the operating sessions, I really like the ground throws because when if it's within easy reach and you're wanting to switch out a industry, it's really handy to be able to just reach there instead of having to radio into dispatch to throw the turnouts for you.
Okay.
I like the hand throws, but I'm really getting into the digital aspect of it, and I'm looking into the button pushes and then the micro servos that throw. There's a few really good companies. I know Walthers does one, and they have one that's in its infancy, and it's DCC compatible. There's always Barrett Hill's shop, and I bought stuff from them, and they're nice little LED lights that you push once, and it's red, you throw it, and it turns green right there, and they're just mini servos.
Excellent.
You know.
Excellent. And I've done it all ways. When I was in high school, I had switch machines from Atlas. They were attached to our turnouts. We remember those. On the Midwest Valley Modelers
Click.
layout, we had put the Hostess switch machines, the slow motion switch machines on the entire layout, and had that controlled from switch panels. On my home layout down here, Keep It Simple Stupid, where I've got stacked foam, I just like to use simple black ground throws that are in place. They don't look that aesthetically pleasing, but they're simple, and I change my track a lot down here, and I can reuse them all the time. So I haven't really been using switch machines on this layout at all, but that might change.
Well, and you pull segments of your layout out at a time to take it outside.
True that.
And if you were using some kind of digital system, you would have to plug and unplug. And
I remember we
Right.
demonstrated
There's
that
always more wires.
Walther's turnout system does fit in a 4-inch block of
It
foam.
does.
So that worked
It
out
sure
good
does.
for the thickness of my layouts. Pete, I want to say before we go, I want folks to check you out. You did a segment on TED TV. I mean, that is an honor. That was awesome.
Yeah. well,
I'm super grateful for that opportunity. It was cool. I've loved TED Talks. Like when you're feeling down, you throw a TED Talk, and you're like, wow, this world isn't that bad.
Yeah,
So,
for
they
real.
asked me a few years ago to do a TED Talk, and it was, I don't know, they first started out with like paint the whole set, and then after, I guess, meeting me and hear my story they want me to tell about. So if you want to check out my TED Talk, either go to YouTube and search Peat Eyes Wallinger TED Talk, or go to my website, eyez.me, like eyes.
is there any other social medias that you're on that people can follow
I mean,
you at?
Instagram's the best. Honestly, it's so easy to post to that. My Instagram is at EYEZ. It's super short and easy, but yeah, it's eyes with a Z.
Perfect.
So I have one question about your TED Talk segment.
Yeah.
Did they give you the little rug and you couldn't move from the rug?
You're right. They give, and the funny thing is, it was a big red dot. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I should put an eye on there.
Right.
You know, that didn't happen, but yeah, you have to stay on that, and yeah, it was such a cool opportunity to kind of tell my story about why I do these eyes. So if you want to know why I do these eyes, beyond just putting eyes on trains, check out the TED Talk.
That's
Well,
an
and
amazing
I've been personally following you for the last 10 years. I've lived down in the city and seen the eyes
Thank
and
you.
said, "Who is
That's
that?" You know.
awesome.
That's right. I feel very grateful I can leave my mark in this world, and maybe one day when I'm gone, the eyes will still be awakening
Well,
and make people.
you sure have.
You
So.
rock,
Absolutely.
man. Give me a high five.
I love you, bro.
I've
Good to know.
definitely seen your great work around town, and great to finally meet you.
Absolutely, ditto.
Rock and
Pleasure.
roll. James.
That's right.
Joshua, Eddie. Gosh, Pete, you're amazing. This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 84, guys. Rock, let's go run some trains.
That's neat, y'all.
Yeah.
Best hobby in the world.
Thank you.